のさ。サンタさんを探してるんです。
Well, if you see him, you should probably tell him to go sue Seth Rogen and Sarah Silverman for defamation. The cold opener for an episode like this was exactly what you'd expect.
Merry Christmas!
And yeah, I know I'm getting the hat out a little early this year, but come on, we all know the stores are much worse. Majrika certainly believed in the holidays for those exact reasons.
ものは何でも利用する。それが賢いやり方じゃ。ただの欲張り。
Well, I see somebody's been reading Jeff Bezos' book. It even kind of looks like him. However, Pup was one employee who wasn't willing to give up her basic freedoms, as she was busy looking for Santa Claus with her army of simps. I mean, their goal was innocent enough, other than Pop's explanation for how Santa put together his shopping list.
それはこっそり町に来て、私たちのこと調査してるからだよ。
So, you actually want to find an old man who, in your words, stalks little kids. Yeah, Pop, are you familiar with the term stranger danger? Of course, the whole town was in the Christmas spirit, including Ompu, who was holding a special concert. This gave Doremi a wonderful, awful idea.
私たちだって3人で魔法度で歌ったらお客さん集まるから。
One thing I really love about Hawaii, no Christmas carolers, because it's too damn hot. She then bumped into, Richard Attenborough? Ooh, be careful girls, he might end up taking you to an island full of dinosaurs with really crap security. But yeah, after Doremi returned his little notebook, the old man walked off while coughing a little too much for my comfort. In the middle of all of this, we got some more of the Santa search party subplot, which, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of. Frankly, it feels mostly like filler to me that could have been reduced down to just the first and last scene to establish how the kids went on a wild goose chase. From there, I think they should have dedicated more time to stuff like Ompu's interesting subplot that we'll get to, as well as the stuff with this old man. Speaking of whom, he ended up collapsing in front of the Mahodo the next day. They invited him into the shop, and Doremi tried to hide Majrika very poorly. Fortunately, and kind of predictably, he turned out to be Satanic, and had connections with the witches world, which kind of makes sense as they're essentially all spellcasters.
こんなスリムなサンタさんもいるのね。
Yeah, that's what happens when everyone starts giving him gluten-free cookies. Actually, he claimed it was all because he had a cold. Aha, sure, just a cold, you say? Well, whatever he had, he was in no condition to illegally enter to countries all over the world, so the Ojamajo offered their services. Majrika also threw in her 2 cents.
わしにもプレゼントくれ。
I don't know, you kind of look like someone who tried to ruin my work thrice. Anyway, they agreed to meet up later after supper. They also tried to enroll Ompu into their little holiday adventure, and not too surprisingly, she turned them down. And again, the designs of these hands kind of look like something else. Later, the Harikazes had their Christmas dinner.
鶏もものステーキ。
Yeah, fun fact, chicken, in particular fried chicken, has become a bit of a tradition in Japan during Christmas. From my research, it was originally started by Takashi Okawara, the manager of the first KFC in Japan, and eventual CEO of the Japan division in 1974. He basically set up a marketing campaign where they used a Norman Rockwell-esque picture to promote the idea that eating poultry for the holidays was a very American thing to do. From there, he said that eating fried chicken was an acceptable substitute for turkey, which was an obvious lie, but the populace bought hook, line, and sinker, as Japan at the time were always trying to follow any foreign trends they could. Thus, every year, people reserve KFC dinner sets months in advance that include a bucket of chicken and a cake for dessert. Okawara would eventually apologize for his deception, but honestly, I don't think he has anything to apologize for. As like many Christmas traditions, be it Rudolph or even the very idea of exchanging gifts, what started off as somewhat of a lie eventually became a truth that everyone could just enjoy. I mean, really, who wouldn't want a free excuse to eat fried chicken and cake? Come on. Later, Doremi revealed to her sister their plans for that night, and while she initially did just to rub it in her face, she was convinced to let her tag along after she learned that she wanted to tell Kringle something. Of course, that also meant that she would have to stay up, so...
You solved the box. We came. Now you must come with us.
Jeez, and I thought Krampus was the scariest Christmas thing I've ever seen. The Ojamajo regrouped with Santa and got in his sleigh. Not too surprisingly, they also changed up the usual insert songs for the show with some convenient public domain tunes. What was surprising was the fact that they weren't going to the North Pole, but rather Lapta by the looks of it. Though apparently, this floating domain was more into cloning. Now you see, this is what happens when you let the elves unionize. And yeah, their present maker kind of looked like the finisher to a certain other group of magical girls. And just like it, the machine experienced a sudden bit of forced obsolescence as it broke down. And for whatever reason, these old men who had a whole year to work things out had no contingency plans. Fortunately, the Ojamajo were there to help, and one magical stage later, the machine was fixed, but they also had to do the packing and they had run out of spheres. Meanwhile, another witch was dealing with frankly a much more interesting subplot as we got to learn that while brainwashing her mom was certainly unforgivable, Ompu didn't exactly have Parents of the Year either.
ママは音符ちゃんのお仕事のことで打ち合わせがあるのでパパも今日は夜勤で帰れないので
Urge to kill rising.
But yeah, for really the first time in this whole series, Ompu arrived and used her magic for good. With that, everyone split off to deliver gifts across the town. Girls, that song isn't in the public domain. Of course, Doremi ended up delivering presents to her family, which included her little sister who wanted to see Santa Claus.
会ってあげてくれませんか？
サンタが子供たちに直接会うことは禁じられている。
But aren't you doing that right now? I mean, I think you're getting around it because they are witches, which Pop also is, so yeah, I don't see what the problem is. I mean, it did lead to a nice scene of the Ojamajo and Ompu trying to give up their presents in order to convince Santa. In the case of the latter, it could also be seen as a nice subtle hint at Ompu wanting something that even Santa couldn't provide. Also, damn Hazuki, why do you have to be so savage sometimes? Whatever the case, Santa managed to circumvent the rules by entering into Pop and all the other kids' dreams. And much more than the gift sacrifice, I think this was a much stronger scene that encompassed the true meaning of the holiday. With that, the episode ended with the Witch Queen coming in with her Christmas present in the form of promotions, which, considering how Doremi failed her last test, meant that she was still ranked behind everyone else, but whatever. This was a standard Christmas episode. Nothing bad, but also nothing that really stands out even when it originally aired. About the most unique thing this had was the freaky image of a room full of Santa clones, which I'll admit I've never really seen outside of my local shopping mall. But yeah, other than that, we just went through the cliched our protagonist helped save Christmas plot. And there did some minute developments for Ompu, there just wasn't much to this one. On its own, this was a perfectly fine episode for this series. I mean, everyone was on character, especially our main lead. Doremi may enjoy teasing Pop, but she did legitimately love her and did what she could for her in spite of the risks. And that final message from said younger sibling to Santa was pretty cute too. Also, we got some notable developments, like learning more about Ompu's strained family life, and of course the promotions. However, yeah, this is just another Christmas special, where our characters help to deliver gifts because Saint Nick can't rely on his clone army for whatever reason. Still, I don't want to be too harsh on this one, as the show was really just filling out an obligation, and it is Christmas. As such, I'll just say this was holiday fluff that you could take or leave. It's certainly no coal in your stocking, but also not that much better than just getting clothes. Still, it was nice to have another reason to break out the Santa hat, aside from maybe the upcoming Tropical Rouge Christmas special, because again, this stuff is prerequisite. With that, we will also try to provide our usual Christmas gifts of the Sinful Gear reviews, with part 2 of XV coming out either tomorrow or the next day. So look forward to it, and until then though, farewell for now my friends, and you know what? After watching this episode, I think I'll just go get some fried chicken. Again, any excuse is good enough in my books.